welcome to Soul Wanderings. It's
Oh,
Wednesday
oh,
night, and we're here to
Hello,
wander with
everyone.
oh
you.
dear.
Oh, here goes
Technical.
every week. Come on.
No, usually I got that down. I'm like, whoa, I forgot the part. Oops.
We always do it.
There's
Something
something
goes
that's
on.
like, oh, there's an echo, an echo, an echo.
Yeah, just take care of it. We'll move on. And every Wednesday night, we get to hang out here with all of you, wandering together through different topics that either relate or inform or motivate or inspire or teach you, or hopefully something really grand and positive in your life. That's the point and the purpose of why we hang out here with all of you. If you are new to Soul Wanderings, be sure to check out soulwanderings.com. You can learn more about us there. We've been doing the show for many, many, many years. 10 years in October, the show has been around. And so, yeah, lots of love, labor of love. Definitely that. During the day, we get to hang out in this beautiful space we call Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. It's there where we get to assist humans in their experience on this planet, whatever that looks like, the good, the bad, the indifferent. We help you through. Visit vibesnow.com. It's a pretty cool place to be. It's not all doom and gloom. People do come here for heavier times, but they also come here for positive growth and all kinds of other fun, exciting things. So, if you're in the northern Utah area, we'd love to see you. Check out our events, check out our services, and come by and say hello. And hi,
Hi.
Natalie. Happy Wednesday.
Yes.
And
Wonderful Wednesday.
hello, Wanderers. We see you piling in the chat rooms. Welcome, welcome. YouTube is the place to be. Facebook is kind of a ghost town, I would say. But we're happy you found us on either place. We're hanging out on both platforms. And we're just happy to have you guys here. Tonight, we're going to talk about a really great topic, and it is alive and well in my reality. I think everyone either has participated or is healing from or is active in it. And it doesn't matter where you're at on the journey. We're just here to talk about it. But first, how are you, miss?
I am doing okay. I had I
She's like, I am
doing okay. I'm on my own healing journey, and it's I appreciate all the modalities that are available, and the people that I have around me that can help me in my journey, and the ability to ask for assistance too. So
Mhm.
had some dental work, and it's just there's a lesson in everything.
There absolutely is. If you allow that, right? Some of us don't really allow that. And that's okay. I didn't for a long time. I'm like, avoid, avoid, avoid. Feelings alert. Feelings alert.
Right. For me, I'm like, wait, my body should not be. I don't like when my body's out of alignment, and so I'm like, well, what do I need to do to get back? What do I need to do to get back in my flow? And pain, I'm always paying attention to where the pain's coming from, and even reading some of the definition and using all the things that we talk about on the show. I'm using all the time in my life, and experimenting with the tools and figuring out what's going on with my body, examining things, even if I don't like. We've talked about feelings buried alive, never die. And I was looking at that and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like what that's saying, but it's probably accurate. So, okay, accept,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah. It really, that's a big step.
Such a big step. Going, okay, something's up in my body.
Which is
Trust my
interesting. Yeah, trust your body, trust yourself.
Hmm.
It's interesting that you say that because even with this topic, I'm like healing the addiction to chaos. That was in my awareness. It's been on my list for, I mean, I made our list months ago, our topic list. But it's been my in my awareness as an observer. But then I started really feeling on what that really means and like all the details thereof. And I am really excited to dive into it because I'm like, ooh, I am guilty. I am guilty. And not in the ways that people may think. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I was feeling into it too and feeling like, oh, I think I could be too. And perhaps not in the way. Um, but I was like, oh, I could see
Yeah.
that connection to chaos. I definitely got into following the chaos through 2020, 21, like tracking the things in the world and trying to sort through all that stuff. And I really remember feeling addicted to the news stream and to checking it out and people that were putting out information on a regular basis and just going, did they put another video out? Did they say something else? Just, I was like,
Mhm.
ooh, watch myself, like wanting the scoop on everything. And that
Yeah.
was a lot of chaos.
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Um, it's a great topic, right? It's gonna touch. We're gonna touch on so many aspects of it, but when I fell into the topic, which is healing the addiction to chaos, that's what we're talking about tonight. It touches on trauma. It touches on psychology, even neuroscience, spirituality. Um, I look at it from so many different angles. You know, I'm an investigator, so I always want to know other people's points of view and take their points of view into consideration. And one thing that's important to clarify is that addiction to chaos isn't technically or officially like a medical diagnosis per se, but it's a phrase that a lot of therapists and practitioners, educators use to describe where a person's nervous system becomes so accustomed to stress that when the calm arrives, they feel unfamiliar or even unsafe.
Hmm.
And that's the way that I was looking into it as I was feeling into our topic is why do people become addicted to chaos? Like how does that work initially? And I wish I would have wrote down some books that I've I'll have to look them up and maybe post them later, but I have all kinds of psychology books because I'm always like, but why and how? I always want to know. But our brains are designed to adapt. So if someone grows up in like an environment where there was constant conflict or unpredictability or like emotional neglect or crisis or something like that, our nervous system learns that being on high alert is necessary for our survival. I understood that when I read that. I was like, oh, yeah, I can see how that would like change my brain chemistry. How when it's peaceful and quiet, I'm like, oh, this feels really uncomfortable. And I'm witnessing that with somebody that I care about very deeply right now, where um, they're in one environment and it's peaceful and they're very uncomfortable and they just can't wait to get back to this other environment because there's lots going on, there's chaos and that unpredictability. And I think the body just eventually begins to recognize that the chaos is just familiar to them. And so they are more comfortable in it. And then being in a place of peace can feel really uncomfortable because it's unknown. And so when I was like feeling into that specifically, I was like, oh, okay, I am guilty. I'm so guilty of this. And this is part of what I've been working on healing most of my life. Like things when they're too quiet, even now today, I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't like it. It's too quiet. And so yeah, let's just start from there because I think sometimes we're not really chasing the chaos because we enjoy the suffering, or we're like we thrive on that, right? We're just chasing what feels familiar. And then our nervous system often chooses what we know over what we don't, which is more than likely more healthy for us.
So I see some of that framework of what you grew up with and what the environment was has conditioned you. But I also see, so some of my perspective comes from understanding things in a sociological way. And if I watch the things that we get entertained by, so there's the soap operas, there's dramas, there so much of our entertainment that we spend time, long time, hours throughout the week watching is stimulating and chaotic. And the storyline is something big happens, and then you work through that, and then you wait till the next episode. We have Netflix series that are like episode after episode after episode, and
And I
that
love
even
that
feeds.
dopamine hit. I love it.
Yes. So I also see that what we feed ourselves as far as, our movies and our things, we don't want to go to the movie just to see something where nothing happens.
Hmm.
It's like that we are entertained by drama and chaos, and just take an example of all the different movies or the series, or what is it that you find entertaining, and that goes into the framework. I remember as a young woman, I was like, I learned how to process some situational things through sitcoms. And not all of it was chaos, but there was usually a situation. Comedy means that there's a situation and it gets resolved in 30 minutes. And there's a script and things seem to flow out that way. But I also grew up in a large family, so there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of things going on. And so that's awareness. We had animals and there were things to be fed and kids running around everywhere and there's all these people everywhere. And so it wasn't so much based on a traumatic childhood, but it was definitely a lot of activity going on in a large family with a lot of people in the home. There's a lot of things going on. And so um, I think my system, because my life is not that way in my home. And there's times where I'm uncomfortable in my own home because there's not enough going on. And I think that that is an example of how, oh, that is inside me, where I
Hmm.
miss all the activity. And I have a very, in my work life, so my home life is very different than my work life. So in my work life, I'm sitting with people, they have things going on. I'm there to attend to whatever it is they're working on and what's going on and helping them figure out their way to work through the issues that are going on in their life and or the grief. And then if I have a client that doesn't really have things going on, then I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what we're doing here. If there's nothing you're needing my assistance with. There's another thing I was noticing about what in my life. I was like, oh, I don't. When someone just doesn't have anything going on, it's just general chit chat. Um, then there isn't as much to respond to, but that's okay because it's just good that people have got they're navigating their life in a beneficial way, and we do not have to dig up bones or anything like that.
Right.
Those were the things I was noticing about myself with this topic.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I looked up a list of patterns that can appear when someone is addicted to chaos or not comfortable in the calm. And some of the things that stood out for me was constantly staying busy to avoid stillness. Guilty. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm busy. I can't do that. I'm busy. Creating unnecessary drama or conflict, which we witness.
Hmm.
Uh, being attracted to emotionally unavailable or unstable relationships. Waiting for the other shoe to drop even when things are going well.
Hmm.
I still feel like that sometimes. Like sometimes things feel so good, I'm just kind of like, but wait, don't get too comfortable, you know? Um, Here's another one that's been one of the things that I'm still working on is feeling guilty when resting or relaxing. And mistaking adrenaline for passion.
Ah,
Those are just some that I wrote down, but interesting take, interesting look from different points of view, and very accurate. I mean, I can see that in myself and some other people around me. And many people don't realize that these are protective, like adaptations, right?
right.
Um, they maybe personality flaws, they would look at them, maybe if they were even considering. But we have a way to protect ourselves, and sometimes it's not always the healthiest way that we can take it. But where I do, like in my offerings, I have a nervous system reset option where I help people because the nervous system is so directly linked to everything, not just our physical body, our emotional body, our mental, everything. And when we're repeatedly exposed to stress, or our bodies really do produce like those hormones that, like when I was talking about, oh, I love that dopamine hit, but it produces hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which adrenaline's really great when you're in times of like fear where you are protecting yourself, just like that's a natural thing, instinct we have inside of us. Um, it, I mean, think back to when we didn't have, we hunted our own food and made our own homes and had to protect our families in different ways. Those things were really important, but over time, the body becomes accustomed to functioning in this state. And it doesn't mean that like we're addicted to the stress chemicals in the same way that we would be addicted to a substance, but our body has learned to be addicted to those chemicals, that their heightened alertness equals safety. And so when I work with somebody's body, with their nervous system, it's really bringing them down from this stressful state into a calm and peaceful, tranquil place. It's really relaxing the nervous system. And we can do that. Yes, Ginga, some muscle memory. Yes. And we can do that. I mean, simply just within moments, we can bring ourselves down more into an um, equal state of mind.
Equilibrium.
Yes, like just be more neutral. So we're
Hmm.
not like in this heightened sense of fight or flight.
So that reminds me of the teachings that I learned through the Vipassana meditation retreat that I did. So immerse myself in 10 days of sitting and and training the observant mind to observe and not do. And so there's things that I take, it's woven into my fabric. That's a lot of years. I did that in 2011. Um, but that trained me during that time to watch, and it puts some space between a stimuli and an action. And I think that through the list that you listed off a bunch of things, if people find themselves in those types of things, you have to raise the awareness that something's happening, to be able to observe it and pause, to create a moment where you can pause and not act or be as reactive. And so it takes some time, in addition to having a nervous system that's already super stimulated, that you can attend to by saying, okay, it needs some intervention, and there's a modality that will calm that down and reset the nervous system. So if someone doesn't have you, what are some ways that they could do that on their own that you can think of?
Well, it nobody needs a me, right? We all are powerful in our own right, and we all are capable of healing ourselves. Sometimes we need someone to hold our hand or teach us or guide us or whatever that looks like. That's where I step in. But if I were to just recommend a few things, as always, I always, always talk about the breath, connecting to your breath, because not only to bring new energy in and release old energy, but it creates the pause, right? It stimulates your brain to focus on the here and the now, connecting to your breath, focusing on the breath coming in and the breath going out. It actually brings you to this present moment. A lot of us cannot be having a bunch of anxiety or overthinking or, um, we're talking about chaos if you're just in this present moment. So, first and foremost, I would connect to breath. Mindful moments, or if you can meditate, I feel like that's very important. And I'm not talking about meditation in the ways that you clear your mind completely. I don't think that is a practical way. But again, it's similar to connecting to your breath. It's bringing you to the present moment. You're focusing on this one moment, this one thing. I'm working on removing some of the thoughts that are in my mind and being still in this moment. For some people, excuse me, that's very uncomfortable.
Hmm.
So even just a minute, I mean, celebrate just a minute. If you can only sit still for 1 minute, that's 1 minute you didn't sit still before. I know for me, there are days that I can sit still for 5 minutes, and some days that I can sit still for 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, I did 30 seconds. That's all I can give right now. But you can do this multiple times a day and test yourself. See how far you can go in just being in this moment, clearing your mind. Another great way is to mind dump, and we've talked about that before, where you just set a like a 2-minute timer, and everything that's going on in your mind, all of the things that are activating this addiction to chaos or the fear or the anxiety or whatever it is that you're feeling, literally without thought, just purge it down and write it down. If you're not able to write it down, speak it into your phone, into a speaker. Everyone has their phone on them or a notes app on their phone. Take advantage of that and do it. But the greatest thing about that is to not reread it or not listen to it again, but delete it or destroy it. Delete it, tear it up, whatever that looks like, and get rid of it, because that's just energy leaving your body and you're not asking to re-invite that energy in. That defeats the purpose. Another thing, if you have access to like red light therapy, if you have a red light, sit under a red light lamp for a while, listen to peaceful meditative music, read a book, go on a walk. Exercising is a great practice. There's a lot of ways that you can reconnect to your body. The reason why we get into these spaces is because, well, let's just talk about it from a spiritual point of view. You talked about the meditation retreat that you went on. From a spiritual point of view, um, when we when we look at it from that spiritually, chaos is what is keeping us disconnected from ourselves. And so when we're disconnected from ourselves, we're we talk about, like, I can go in so many different directions. Let me hone it in a little bit. The whole point of media and the chaos that's going around us is to distract us. And so chaos will keep us disconnected from ourselves that way. When we're constantly reacting, we have very little energy left for ourselves, for listening to what our body needs, what our soul is saying. The stillness is where we gain access to our intuition and it becomes easier to hear. And it's where discernment develops in those quiet moments. It's where we remember who we are beneath all of the chaos, beneath the survival. There's a quote, and don't quote me exactly, but it's like the divine doesn't always speak louder than the noise. And sometimes it simply waits for us to get quiet enough to listen. And that's the whole point. That's what the chaos does for us. It distracts us, it takes us away from our true selves. And if we can bring ourselves back to the here and now, we don't hear that. And we're not distracted. We're connected to who we are. And they, whoever they may be, when we're disconnected, they can control us, they can manipulate us, they can puppeteer us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we get addicted to that. And that's why we're like, oh, I can't wait for that next episode. Or some people I know are really addicted to the news, like, what horrible thing happened today? And it just becomes this cycle. And before you know it, it's just there. It's not like we seek it out intentionally in the beginning. It just, one day it's just there. And we just can't sit in the silence like we used to. And that's the point. That's the point. But yeah, to answer your question, I know I kind of went around a little bit. I would say to practice listening, like sitting in silence for 5 minutes without reaching for your phone and saying no to unnecessary commitments. And for me, like allow myself to rest without earning it. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
okay. I don't have to do chore A, B, and C before I can go and take a break. And I think it's really important for us to be aware of the triggers that we have that suck us back in. And pay attention to it before judging yourself, of course, but just pay attention to it as an awareness. And for you, like going out in nature.
It's so true.
For your like anyone who's connected to nature, go out in nature. That's where your nervous system will naturally begin to regulate just on its own, just by being out in nature.
I I went and spent a little bit of time in nature. Then I had this awareness that there's this productivity, like just taking a break where there's not so much to do except for just existing. This has been something I've even, whether it's going out to nature or whether it's just allowing the fact that it doesn't need to be an 8, 9, 10 hour day attending to something. Like being is a purpose, like being alive. This will come up in my groups or different things. I'll be like, I don't know what the purpose of my life is. And I'll say, life is the purpose of your life. Being alive is simply a purpose of being. It doesn't mean that we have to have a to-do list and scratch those things off. And so I think that is an aspect of this addiction to chaos being movement and production and that type of thing as well. So taking a break from those things, allowing the break, and if you're just taking a break, noticing what's happening inside the body. There's so much about noticing that start to to see what an addiction looks like where noticing how often you'd reach for. So we're taking the social media or things that we watch on devices as chaos, as a chaos, because it's not necessarily peaceful. It's not a mental shutdown of any sort. But there was another, so there's that. But I want to step into a little different space that was part of what you were talking about with psychology. And one of the things that I have paid attention to my own self, because I do a lot of work with emotions, And I very purposefully spent several years practicing not asking someone to change their behavior because I was stimulated by a behavior or a lack of behavior. So I worked on I won't ask someone to change their behavior. So I think that in relationships there's a lot of addiction to chaos that can be seen as you need to do something different because I got my feelings hurt, or you said something that stimulated me. And that comes out in language like, you hurt my feelings. And so people will say, well, you need to modify what you say because I don't want to have a reaction like that. So you need to fix that. So one of the things on the list was that alluded to that, the being attracted to emotionally unavailable people. Like there's going to be this attraction. So then you get attracted to them, and then a lot of times people in those relationships want to make the person become available. Like change yourself. And so then there's like always a list that I'm let's have a conversation about the way that you are. Let's have a conversation about how this should be different. Let's have some energy. Let's have something in the relationship to discuss and to drive and to change. And I was talking about changing. Those are examples of what this can also look like. It's like we need to talk about our relationship because I'm feeling something. Or in it can also show up in the work that I do with grief, of where someone needs to stay busy so that they don't end up in the missing you or the missing their person, like place where they just sit still because it hurts so bad to move. They end up being overly busy and distracted so they don't have to feel that portion of life. And that is just an aspect of life. Is
Right. I mean, I'm guilty of that with different aspects of my life for sure.
I don't want to
Like,
be
I don't want
sad.
to feel that. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to go occupy myself with something else.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having distraction. We're talking about being balanced, about finding this equilibrium, about paying attention to when something is out of balance, um, which is inherently chaotic. To be so out of balance that you're just the chaos everywhere, or um, having relationships that always have to have some disruption in it. There's people that, when we think about that in the relationship level, there's always something that people can throw tantrums or pout or silent treatment. I've never quite understood the silent treatment, but I hear about people that have people that like don't talk to each other. I'm like,
My throat is defined.
mine
I
too.
don't do well with silent treatment. I'm like, talk to me. I get so angry. I'm like, give me the information.
Yeah.
Don't ignore me.
Oh. People will be like, well, what's wrong? Nothing. Okay, that doesn't that does not match
That feels
the
like something.
vibe you're sending out of your body. It's
Yeah,
like,
that feels like something. Can we try that again?
yeah,
Yeah. I just I feel like this topic, there's so much I want to say, and I know there's some things that I just need to put down. They just get a little too. This topic is directly related to an experience I'm having with somebody in my life right now who is addicted to chaos. And I'm like really concerned. Like it's to a concerning point where like their mental health is um, at risk.
yeah,
And so, like, all the things I want to say are so emotionally driven and they might not be the truth. So I'm like, let me just feel into this, or is that just my manifestor anger going? I just want to shake this person because they're just causing so much suffering with themselves and other people around them. What about that? So you're the coach here. What if someone like me or anyone who's experiencing someone that they genuinely care about. Like, how would we show up for someone who who can't hold still and um be in the moment with them because they're like waiting for the next thing? Like, do you ever have those people who stop by? They're like, I'm just here for a second and I've just got so much to do and I'm off, and they're going off just to meet other people just for moments and moments. We know those people. We know those people. Oh, but what would you say to a client who is like, um, it's causing me turmoil in my life. This person close to me is struggling and just is constantly addicted to the chaos. It's bringing chaos into my life. It's bringing uneasiness into my areas. Um, it's not a quality time with them. Like, what would you say to someone who is working or relating to someone in that situation?
So in my work, I'm I'm looking at maps of people always, and so whenever I'm working, there's times where I'm working with someone that has someone that's driving a bit of chaos, and I can only attend to the person that's in front of me,
Of
that's
course.
that's doing that kind of work, saying I'm interested in making any adjustment within my frame that I can possibly make to ease anything that I'm contributing to the situation. And then I'm using human design to help them decide, because it's there's so much that's a decision. And if someone's driving some chaos, learning how to be as non-reactive to that as possible and working on their own behavior. And then there's times where I say, well, I don't know, I'm only receiving the story through one person, and if that person wanted to do some of the work, this I will offer up to a person that I'm working with a frame of reference for the other person and say, this is what I would teach this person if I had them with me. Because I would say, well, this is how I would work, which sometimes gives some different language to bring to the table, to a discussion. But sometimes it's helpful to just have some other words to say to the person, and not take some ownership. There's so many levels to people, and there really is sometimes situations that need time to write themselves out.
Mm.
Like there are times we're presented, and this is one thing I do have to say in emotionality, that emotion takes time. I see this so often with grief, that people are looking for a way out of the situation. And there's some life situations that just are they're a marathon, they're not a sprint. There's no quick solution to certain things. The growth process takes time for people to grow through a period of time that they're going through. So awareness doesn't come overnight. There's times where life presents us with a person that's chaotic, or brings things up all the time, or is always rehashing an experience, or depends. There's so many different layers to this. But what I'll teach each individual person is to be their best self. Because when we are the most comfortable in our skin, when we're as healthy as we can be, we do affect the world around us. We really do. We have an influence. So um, I have had a friend for a long time who taught me a lot about addiction to chaos, because he would bring a lot of chaos into my world. I would used to say, I have this friend, and when he's visiting with me, he walks in my house with muddy boots and then he leaves. And he's got the muddy boots, but they're not my muddy boots, but he came into my life and stirred up some chaos. And I have some things that I'm thinking about that weren't there before I had a conversation with him or an interaction, and then I'm left sort of spinning. And I had that awareness. And so one of the things that I did in that situation was I accepted him for the chaotic space that he was in. And I found this language came out of my mouth. I'd be like, he has muddy boots. I don't want him walking in my room. He's got muddy boots, but he has muddy boots. They're not my muddy boots, but they're his muddy boots. So there's times where that awareness can just say he was in that space. And I also gained the awareness that I would do my best to offer up some wisdom, and I had no ownership of whether or not he could take it. And I have to say that patience and time has changed this person. Whatever I said, I was a gardener. I planted seeds. I planted seeds. And some of those seeds over time took hold. So as I'm holding my form, living the way that I'm designed to operate, honoring myself and my nature, and doing what I need to do, I still have to interact with humanity. And that does not, and I don't want to say that presenting that I've got it all together, because I'm a work in progress just like anyone else. And I would get pushed off my center. And when someone can push me off my center, I find that they're a teacher, because there's not that many people that can push me off center that much anymore, because I've practiced this for a long time. But then there's some people that can push me off my center. I'm like, oh, good one. You're my guru right now, because you're showing me where my improvement can be. And so I can also hold gratitude for the people that can knock me off kilter a little bit, because I'm like, oh, you're my teacher.
I'm here to give you a refresher.
Yes.
Not me, I hope. I don't mean me.
No. And so I do a lot of mental frameworks that if I have to tell myself a story, and I've got to work my mind in a particular way, I want to work my mind. I am really an optimistic person by my nature. I have optimism framed out in my mind, and I like it that way. But throughout the years, I haven't always had that. Many years ago in my work environment, I would meet people that I would say, man, they live in an ER room. They live in an emergency room. And I didn't like that per se. I didn't always like having, and there were some times when I did that as well. And I would work to grow away from living in an emergency room. But people are always living in an emergency room. Type up. There's a lot of activity in the emergency room. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all things that I've built within myself. And then when I'm working with another, I use some frame of reference to help them find equilibrium. What can they trust within themselves that they can rely on, that they can then start to stabilize themselves? And then my desire is that spreads.
Mm.
Everyone I interact with, I want to be able to help them be more comfortable in their own skin. How can they be the best version of themselves? And that's what I would look at with anyone and saying, is this the most helpful way? Is this something that you want to grow up with? And there's times where we just have to meet people, the chaos that they are. And sometimes we can just choose out of being around people that pull us one direction or the other, if that's possible. Sometimes that's the choice.
And sometimes it's a very challenging choice.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had to do that, and it's been heartbreaking at times.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're on our journey, thank you. That was really good wisdom. Um, Speaking of being on our journey, it could be valuable for us to even like look at distinguishing healthy challenges and like those kind of choices from chaos, because growth happens and it does require discomfort,
Mhm.
right? And the discomfort isn't the same as dysfunction, but in the moment it could probably feel like that. And we don't evolve because our lives are in constant turmoil. We evolve because we learn to meet those challenges, those
Right.
experiences from a place of like steadiness versus like survival mode, which we've talked about also. And it can be really freeing for us and for the people who've spent years and years and years and years believing that the struggle is the only way, it's the only path to transformation. It's gotta be hard. Like I've felt that on many levels, and in the beginning of my journey, because it was chaotic and it was hard, and some of that was probably because of me. A lot of it was due to other people.
Mhm.
So sometimes it does feel like that. I think it's good to be able to distinguish the two.
Well, the one thing I've seen you is choose your battles differently.
Oh yeah.
Like I've
I
watched
used to just
you.
want to fight. Like, let's
Mhm.
just fight.
Yeah.
You got something to say, I got something to say better.
Yeah, so I've watched you be more selective about the struggles that you put yourself through, that you put yourself through. Is like, why? Okay, you don't have to fight all the time, which you had. That was part
That was
of.
my life conditioning, though.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like my whole life.
understandably so. It takes some time to unwind. Once you have to become awareness, have an awareness that that was your life, and that there's another route to even take. And I want to touch back into saying that's what I've seen throughout the time of why meditation comes up or moments of stillness comes up, because what it offers is an alternative route than the busyness. Is you have to practice taking a different or establishing a different pattern. Or the reason why it doesn't really work to, in the moments of chaos, to be like, oh yeah, I'm remembering to breathe. Well, you're not going to remember to breathe in the moments of chaos if you didn't practice breath work outside of the chaotic moment. You have to have some practice outside of those things. I was
Hmm.
talking to you earlier today about one of the practices that I put my programs that I did for 3.5, 4 years. And I was talking about what I learned and what I actually, by putting myself in that program. Like I had to pay the money, I had to put the skin in the game, I had to attend, I had to sit through all the different um, exercises they put us through, the different moving my body. It was an exercise program in addition to understanding about energy. But when I went into that program, I wanted to learn about energy flow. Now in my life, it's just so strange that I ever was naive about it because it's so natural for me
Yeah,
now.
it's second nature.
Right, but I didn't
It,
know it then.
yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about this, right? Is like we,
Yeah.
we, it's like the muscles we talk about. We strengthen them,
Hmm.
and that happens over time. Practice and time, repeated behaviors. That's how we get ourselves into these messes anyway.
Yeah. So a lot of times a person that's caught in this addiction cycle, um, so they say to an addict that's substance and things like that, acceptance is the first step. Like that the person has to have a willingness to shift something within them. And there's times where a person isn't there.
Right.
Um, and when we've done a lot of growth and we've grown through some certain things, there's touching a space inside of us where we can have compassion for a person that doesn't know what we know yet. I had this experience with a person that joined my group, one of my groups, and he had a spiritual experience when he was a young man, and he's led his life in sort of a dropout kind of a mode. He reminds me of someone that would have like just dropped out of life and gone to some ashram in India and just lived just sort of like there's some of that awareness. And he said, I just feel like I've got, but he had a recent loss. And so his grief has now come to visit him in a way that shook him. He's just thrown a little off kilter, but he's like, I think I got this down pretty well, except for my last week. That was really like kicked me sideways. There can be, so my point in just bringing that up is that sometimes we can have a little bit, I'm going to use the word, a little bit of arrogance or a little bit of non-understanding because we've grown to the space that we're in and it's been woven like me. Wow. I, I really realized that my younger self years back didn't really know about the flow of energy, which I understand now because I've been practicing it for all these years. So there can be an appreciation or compassion for someone that doesn't know yet that chaos isn't the healthiest state of being, that there's another way besides that to exist in life. And so touching that place inside of us and having some compassion for the other can often create an opening for the other person to start the growth experience.
I agree. And, we never know who's watching. No
No.
matter how we are acting or behaving or what we say or do, you just never know.
Right.
You talk about being the seed in someone's garden or helping them water their seeds. That's a perfect example. Perfect example. Um, and it's just a bunch of very small moments and
Mm-hmm.
repeated consistently. That's all it takes. Like it's not big, grand gestures or big life changes, just little baby steps, little small moments. And if you keep repeating them, they become the big things.
Yeah. Becomes our way of living and
Yeah,
life.
yeah. Um, I have a question for you.
Okay. I
If
have an
peace,
answer.
if peace felt completely safe, just peace in general, what would you do differently tomorrow?
Um, hmm, I think maybe I would. So if peace felt completely safe,
Hmm.
I think that's bringing up something inside of me that um, that like, oh, that's a little comfortable.
Because the reason why I ask it, it's a psychology question. That question often reveals where fear is shaping our choices. So it's just a question to like sit with. And listeners, I invite you to do the same. If peace felt completely safe, what would you do differently tomorrow? I don't have an answer for that yet, but some things came up in me and I was like, ooh, this is
Mm.
good. And and then I kept reading and I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. They're trying to see where our fears really are and how they're shaping our choices.
So I remember, and this has been rattling around in my consciousness or in my thought process. I remember years back someone reading a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. It
Oh,
baffles me that there's, I mean, and someone says, look, anyone can have a 4 hour work week and be successful.
mhm.
That blows my mind. I personally can't imagine just working. What do I do outside of 4 hours of work? Like, so I am a very worker bee person and I enjoy my work. So I get this opportunity to do it. But that's also something that comes up that said if peace was safe, I probably would just wander through my neighborhood and walk more or just go on the trails and
Take
just let
Virginia
myself
on a
have
trip.
it. Yeah, would just let myself have that and and it goes way back through my heritage, my Mormon root, my pioneer roots, that is like productive is important. It's woven in, I think, into my DNA. um but that's something that came up with that is like I probably would work, I trust, work less, I guess. I don't it would be interesting to let some of those things that are inside of me, because there was a memory that was like, I remember when I started that. Okay, that was a time where I was thrust into my whole life shifted. At a,
Yeah.
there was a period of my life that everything shifted, and then I learned how to stay occupied a little bit more.
Yeah.
Dance out session. Yeah.
That's my thing. We all know I'm a kitchen dance party girl.
That's right.
You guys are awesome. I love the participation. Thank you. What a great topic. What a great show. Thanks, you guys. You're so awesome. We really appreciate that. I just want to say one last thing before we close up with this topic. Um, the greatest healing that we can like offer ourselves isn't like how we're going to survive another chaotic experience or thrust ourselves into chaos in general. But it's about learning that our life no longer has to be chaotic. We don't have to thrive in chaotic moments. And peace isn't something you have to earn, um, especially not anything you have to earn after you've suffered. Like you don't have to suffer enough to earn it, is what I'm trying to say. It's something you begin to allow the moment you believe you're worthy of it. And just saying, every single one of you are worthy just because you exist. And so I hope you give your opportunity to just step into that um, path of healing and maybe set your phone down a little more, connect to your breath a little more often, and look for the little things that spark joy. Those kitchen dance parties, I promise you, are the best. In fact, I should make a playlist accessible to everybody. I've got some goodies. But anyways, I just want you guys to realize like we don't have to suffer. I hope you understand that and that you're worthy of surrender and peace and freedom within your environments and especially within yourself. So I hope that you focus on that for you and feel a little lighter tomorrow and
Oh,
even more
yes.
so next week and the week after. Um, if you guys forgot, we are taking the month of August off because we take a month off in the summer every year just so we can have a break and
Do
just
life and
focus
visit
some
nature and
peace and, do all the things. So we won't be here for um so uh the month of August, which when I say that, like that's 4 weeks off. I don't know if we'll be able to do that because we just love being here so much. We may come back the last week of August. We haven't had that discussion, but for sure the next few weeks we're gonna take off. What will you do? Watch watch the show you missed.
yeah,
Go to our record on our YouTube and just yeah.
rewatch some of our
I'm gonna
topics.
create a little more. I'm gonna spend some time with myself. I don't have any trips planned till the end of August, and it's only one weekend trip, but it's just what we do for ourselves, so we can focus on a couple of other things. So we'll definitely keep in touch with you guys through social media. So make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. You can connect to all of those at soulwanderings.com if you're not already following us. And we'll be back either August 26th or September 2nd. 3 or 4 weeks, undecided. Probably three, maybe four. Just pay attention. We'll be back.
We will.
I hope y'all are enjoying your summers. Thank you for being here with us. We're so grateful for you and the opportunity to spend this time and space with you. I know time is your most valuable asset, and we do not take it for granted that you spend part of that with us. Thank you.
Everyone, have a good one.
Natalie. Have a good one. We'll see you guys all soon. Good night.